Hello everyone! Welcome to Papercrafting Playdate. My name is Robin Armbrecht and this is Really Robin Stamps. Today is July 30th, 2021. Can you believe we are already over halfway through the year 2021? This is actually episode 27 of Papercrafting Playdate, and I am just amazed and awed at your response to all my efforts, and I thank you so much for watching. Those of you who watch live and those of you who watch on YouTube later, I am so grateful and thankful that you join me each week to play with paper and share your wonderful comments and feedback with me. I just really appreciate it so much. So today is a technique, and it is a oldie but goodie called masking. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me flip you around here. Maybe. All right, how is everyone doing today? Nope, that's not good. I think this just wiggled on me and it wasn't supposed to. Let's try that. There we go. How is everyone doing? Leave me a comment and tell me what you are up to today. Let's just zoom in a little bit. Okay. All right, so I said we are going to do the technique of masking. I looked up the word masking in the dictionary, and as it applies to the stamping world today, it really just means something that is a piece that serves to conceal or shield something from view. And so we are going to focus on that today. And like I said, this is an old technique, or it's been around ever since rubber stamping was invented. And it's just an oldie but goodie that's so fun, really, right? It's just a technique that you can do over and over again. All right, I'm pulling you up on Facebook here so I can see your comments. Oh my goodness. Hi, Judy. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Wanda. Hi, Elaine. Hi, Carol from Connecticut. I'm so glad you're here. Awesome. All right, Elaine is babysitting, and Lynn, you get more done on Fridays. I'm telling you what, you are just a busy lady. She's mowing, and she went to the Fit Club already, and now she's gonna put her feet up, I hope, and watch this video. So let me show you the first card that we're gonna do. Just give me a second here. I'm going to just adjust the camera one more time. Hopefully just one more time. Okay, so we are gonna do some just basic masking, all right? So the first stamp set that I wanna show you is the Plentiful Plants, because it's kind of my new hot favorite. And we're gonna bring in all different colors of neutrals and greens to play with. When you are doing the technique of masking, you really just need basic supplies. And I kind of came back to this technique because I do have a lot of brand new stampers who've been joining me. And this is a great technique to kind of enhance your basic stamping when you just have a few supplies. Some sets of stamps really lend themselves really well to the technique of masking, but you can really do it with basically any stamp, right? So the basic supplies that you need are, ink pads, paper, your stamps, so stamps, ink, and paper, and then you're gonna need like sticky notes and maybe some scratch paper or copy paper, and that's the extent. Probably a pair of scissors is a must. All right, so let's get started with Plentiful Plants. And I'm gonna just show you the reason why we need the technique of masking, okay? So this this little sample right here is going to be like the why, the reason behind, okay? So I got gray granite and Sahara sand, and hey, Lisa. Judy, yeah, you made it live. It's so exciting, right? All right, so let's just say you've got a stamp set like this that's kind of got some pieces that build together, right? So you can stamp this as is without masking, but let's just play with it for a minute and see how that works. All right, so I'm going to take my cinnamon cider with this little terracotta pot, and I'm going to stamp that first. Let's move these up a little bit so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm going to be irritated with my camera today. I can just tell you right now. It's going to be one of those days. Let me try one more time to get this better. Guess I need to practice. Okay, so here's our pot, and let's say we want to stamp these leaves. So I'll ink those in garden green. Now, this has a nice little straight piece that's supposed to go right up against the pot there. So because it's a photopolymer stamp, it really makes it pretty easy. You can get it right next to the pot like that. It looks like it's in the pot. I mean, these stamp images are designed so perfectly well. But let's say we want to put another pot next to it, okay? So if you stamp over and you're not stamping in a darker color, let's just try it. All right, so I stamped this one in Sahara sand. All right, so the little piece of the handle is not going to really show up because it's overlapping the Sahara sand over the cinnamon cider, right? And then let's say I'm going to stamp the little snake plant here, and again, it's designed to line up very easily. It's got a nice straight edge on it, so you can bump it up against all these pots. You can just stamp that right there, right over the ink. So that looks fine, right? It looks fine. And then let's do another pot. Let's just say we wanted to do, this one's gray granite. We wanted to kind of stamp it right next to, we either have to overlap the color again, like that, which that looks okay, or, you know, it's gonna just kind of look a little disjointed, right? So we'll stamp that there. All right, so actually these colors that I used, you know, they kind of blend okay together, right? It's not horrible, but let's just make it a little bit more interesting and add a little more depth by using the masking technique, okay? So I'm gonna do this again. The key, if you take away one thing and learn one thing about masking, the key to masking is that you want to stamp first whatever image is going to be in the front, okay? So if you're creating layers and depth with your images, whatever you want to be in the front has to get stamped first. And I know that seems kind of backwards, but you'll see why it isn't, okay? So instead of doing the terracotta pot first, I'm gonna do these two images first because they're a little bit smaller and I want them to look like they're in front of the terracotta pot, okay? So I'm gonna stamp this cute little round pot first, and then I'm going to stamp this other one second over here. Let me just eyeball where my pot is going to be. Okay, we want that about right there. All right, so those two pots are there. So now we're going to mask them so that we can put the other pot to look like it's behind them. So what you do when you want to make a masking piece is you bring in a piece of scratch paper, copy paper, or I like to use the sticky notes because there's that little bit of adhesive. If you can buy a package of sticky notes that have full adhesive on the back, that's even better because you can use all parts of your sticky note. But you stamp your image on the sticky note and then you cut it out. All right, so you cut right on the edge of the image. Don't leave any like extra. That is gonna help you get the best masking. All right, so I just cut that out. So I'm gonna put that on here. And then I'm going to bring in the one I've already done for this cute little pot. And I even cut out the little handles so that you're gonna see the color, of the terracotta pot behind it. All right, so now that I've masked those, they're going to remain in front, and when I stamp this guy, he's going to appear to be in the back. Okay, so he stamped right over the masking paper, right here, you can see that, and then right here on this handle. So when I take that off, you're going to see those pots in front, right? So cool. So you've got automatic depth. I'm going to put those back on because I'm going to use these while we do our plants now. Okay, so let's mask him as well in the middle, this terracotta pot that I love so much. So now you kind of want to figure out which plants you want in front, and I'm just going to go with my, since I've got these two pots in the front, those plants are also going to be in the front. So let's stamp the snake plant. Now you can lower your snake plant when you've got a masking piece, and you can make it any height you want because you can stamp it right on top of that paper and it's going to appear to be inside of your pot, right? So you can lower that and make it even, you know, shorter if you wanted to. And then let's take this one. This is Granny Apple Green. I'm going to stamp that kind of this way, and I'm going to tuck it into the pot a little bit more, like that. Okay, so now I want this big greenery on this plant to be behind these two. So I'm going to mask what I just stamped. I'm going to just cut those out ahead of time. All right, and then we're going to use Garden Green, and we're going to stamp the large greenery. So it's stamping right on top of my masking papers, and that's what's going to keep it and make it look like it's behind those leaves. Isn't that cool? So now it's behind that. Let's take all the pots off like that. So now you've got, whoops, there we go. Now you've got automatic like depth around your images. Very simple. So that is basic masking with solid images. So let's make a quick note card with this, and I can see my camera is not cooperating. That's okay. We are not going to let it win today. Let's try that. Okay, so I'm just going to make this a quick little thank you card because I'm going to put it on a small pre-made note card. So I'm going to take the thank you from the stamp set, and I'm just going to put it right underneath the pots. Just kind of go over them a little bit, and then it'll look like they're just kind of all grouped together in a really nice way. Now, how many of you, leave me a comment if you have done masking before, if you like to do this technique, or if it's kind of new to you. I would love to see where you're at in your stamping journey. So this is just a pre-made basic white note card, and so I just cut this to go kind of layered on the front like that. Hello, Joan. Nice to have you join me. Thank you so much. There we go. So we've just got this really, really simple note card. All right, so that is one way to mask. So let's try it with some line art images. All right. I love it when I can get out 6 ink pads at one time. That's just fun. All right, so once you, if I didn't already say this, once you create these little masking papers, out of your copy paper or your Post-it notes, definitely just save them, put them right back into the case, or in a little envelope inside the case until they don't work anymore because they're either, you know, too stamped or they're not sticky. The other thing, remember, if you've got this mono-adhesive glue, it's a two-way, that's why it's called multi-liquid glue. If you use this on the back of a piece of paper and just let it dry completely, then it will act as a repositional adhesive. So let's say, you know, you could just put a tiny little dot on the back of each of these leaves, let it dry, and then it's going to be very sticky. So this is Plentiful Plants. This is from page 81 in the catalog. The stamp set is $21. It obviously is bundled with some great dies, but you know what? If you don't have a you know, a die cutting machine, but you just want to, you know, have a really fun stamp set, this is awesome. This is a great stamp set. All right, Joan, can you list the colors? Yes, I'm sorry. So I've got Granny Apple Green, Garden Green, Shaded Spruce. Those are my greens, but the pots were made with Sahara Sand, Gray Granite, and Cinnamon Cider. All right, so let me move this and I'll pull in the next project. And before I do that, I apologize, I meant to do this first. I've gotten some very lovely cards in the mail that I wanted to share with you. This is from my friend Cheryl in Florida, and she tried the blended alcohol technique with the color and contour stamp set. Look how wonderful that is. It's so pretty. I love the colors. I think this is Melon Mambo and Bermuda Bay with a little pop of yellow there. She's got shimmer. Wonderful. I love that so much. And this is from my friend Claudia, and it was actually designed by another friend, Anne. And look how pretty these little flowers and leaves punches from the Friendship of Flowers. That's so pretty with the black and white in the back. I love that. Then my friend Rebecca made me this card this week, thanking me for the Papercrafting Playdates, which was just so sweet. But she used the quadrilateral 4-in-1 pattern, and she created this little card with this retired paper. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like a tropical name. So cute, so cute. I love this. I like how you layered those, Rebecca. And then this is from my friend Paula, and she made this amazing card. Look at this fun frame with the little flowers peeking through. I love this. Thank you so much, guys. I love this mail. Appreciate it so much. Hanging on my bulletin board. Okay. So the next stamp that we're going to use is Count on Me, because this is a great one to also use the masking technique with. Obviously, these images can all be used by themselves, but you can make your card more interesting without adding any more layers by just doing the masking technique, okay? So I picked some of the little critters from this stamp set, and I want them to look like they're all grouped together, right? Because I could just stamp them next to each other without overlapping, but I want them to look like a group, right? I love this greeting here that says, we can make it through anything if we do it together, right? I love that greeting. So we're going to make a little group of animals, and then we're going to color them. So I have to figure out first, which one do I want to be in front, and that is the first one that I stamp. So I'm going to choose the kangaroo here, and I'm going to put that one kind of to the side like that. Let's bring in the masking papers here. Koala, I already cut these out of my Post-it notes, and there's the little kiwi bird. All right, so I want the koala to be next in line here, tucked behind my little kangaroo. So I'm going to ink the kangaroo, and then I'm going to just stamp it right over the tail and then kind of behind the kangaroo's like hip. Okay. And then we'll mask the koala. And I want the kiwi to just be tucked behind the little koala bear. I think this probably isn't to size, but just use your imagination, right? I think the kiwi birds are a little bit smaller than what a koala bear would be. So I'm going to stamp that and overlap right on top of my Post-it note like that. All right, so I'm not going to reveal this yet because before we take the papers off, I just want to make a little background here. And so we're going to make kind of like a sky and a grass with the blending brushes, because this is something else that you can use your masking papers for, right? I don't want those animals to just be hanging in mid-air. So I'm going to take Old Olive with a blending brush, and then I'm going to just kind of make some grass. Because those masking papers are sticky on the back, you can just go right on top of them like that. All right, there's our bottom. Okay, so then let's bring in the balmy blue and we'll create some sky. You could use any kind of sponge to do this. I'm going to start on the masking papers, that way if I've got just a little bit too much on my brush, I won't get any little blobs. Okay, so we've got a little bit of sky behind them, a little bit of grass. And yeah, I think that's it. So let's pull these off so we can reveal. This is fun. You know what? I'm telling you what, stamping is magic. I don't care how long you've been a stamper, if you're brand new or you've been doing it for years and years and years. When you do a little technique like this, it's like magic every time. Don't you think? I think that's why it's a hobby that you do for a long time, because it's just fun. And this technique is so simple. So there's this cute little grass, right? I'm going to just add a little bit of grass over here to help create that illusion of a kind of like a land feature, right? So we'll just add a little bit of the blades of grass, and then let's put our greeting on here. Like that. What do you think? Isn't that super fun? Let's do a little bit of coloring, and then I'll show you the finished card. So I've got my Stamp and Blend combos here. I've got Crumb Cake, and I've got Smoky Slate, and I've got Cinnamon Cider. And so those are going to be the colors for my little guys. So let's do the kiwi and Crumb Cake. I looked it up online just to see what color is an actual kiwi, and it's, you know, it's kind of a dark bird, but mine's going to be Crumb Cake. So I always usually blend light to dark, but not always. It doesn't matter how you do it, but I'm going to use the light first and then add my highlight in the dark and then go back with the light and just kind of draw it in and make sure I've just got some variated color there. I'm going to do the same thing in gray with the koalas. Lisa, are you talking about this stamp set? This one is called Count on Me. It's in the main catalog on page 82. It's $22. when I use my Stampin' Blends, usually I always just kind of imagine it's a paintbrush, right? Especially when I'm using the brush tip. And so I try not to make like strokes that are highly like lined. I just kind of pretend I'm using a paintbrush, and that really works well. So now I'm going to go back and I'm just going to create some highlights by kind of shading around under the neck, kind of at the top where they meet there. I'm going to have a little shading there where he's bumped up against the kangaroo. That was with the dark, and then you can go back with the light and just kind of blend that over so you don't have any harsh lines. Hey Sue, how you doing? Thanks, Judy. Are you guys thinking about some stamp sets that you have at home that you can do this technique with? Because it's time to bring it back out. All right, we're going to use cinnamon cider here. Again, I'm going to use the light one. First, I don't usually color on my lives. I just like to move a little more quickly and not make you watch me color. But I noticed that when I watch other videos, I am like so relaxed by watching someone color. So I thought, well, I'm gonna do that today. And of course, I need a little therapy today, and to me, coloring is therapeutic. So that's why I'm doing that. My, if you don't know, my daughter is a COVID-19 bride. She did get married last year in June 2020, and it was a complete, you know, completely different version of the wedding we had been planning for like years. Literally years, because they were engaged for almost 3 years before she got, you know, married. And yeah, you know, we ended up having to change everything. So again, I just went and outlined him with the darker color, and now I'm going to blend in those lines with the lighter version, and I'm just going to leave some spots, you know, lighter like that. So anyway, we had already paid like half of, you know, all the money that we needed to pay for the first wedding. And so we rescheduled it for August 14th, 2021, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow, right? So all of a sudden we're kicking into gear here, and we're trying to pull all this off. So this coloring is definitely therapy for me today. So thank you for indulging me and letting me color for you. So I took a pale papaya. This is the dark pale papaya, and I just kind of highlighting some of the like little underbellies. You can go right over the gray. You see how that shows up there? It just looks really cute. Did the little ears and the beak. So there we go. There's our cute, cute, cute little guy. And we're going to put the yellow flower on there. All right, you ready to see the finished card? There we go. Just hold that close so you can see like that. And here is the finished card. I just mounted the animals on Old Olive, and then the card base is crumb cake, and I took some cinnamon cider and I ran it through the brand new, what's it called? Time Worn Type, this new one that's coming out in the new catalog. I ran it through that embossing folder, and then I used some of the new black and white gingham ribbon, and I just put a little piece of ribbon there and popped out some of those stitched flowers to kind of coordinate with that little flower there. So there we've got masking technique with line art images. Okay, so again, thinking about people who are trying to create some techniques and cards when they don't have a lot of supplies yet. And I wanted to just show you real simply what you could just do with a piece of scratch paper. Okay, so let's say we're going to do some masking here. I am using just this loose leaf paper because I didn't have scratch paper in or copy paper in my office, but I'm just going to tear this, and I'm going to tear towards me with my thumbs kind of guiding the tear, so you can kind of give it a little bit of you can kind of help mold the direction of your tear if you keep your thumbs together and you go towards yourself. So I'm going to use this piece here, and I'm going to mask off a portion of my card front. And I'm going to actually just tilt it a little bit to give it almost a little diagonal like that. So I want this to stay put while I'm stamping. So I'm going to just use a little bit of washi tape and hold it down on my scratch paper. And then I'm going to bring in fresh freesia and a blending brush. And we're going to get this amazing torn line image on our card front. So I'm going to go along that edge first, but I'm actually going to fill in the whole half of this card. So again, this is a great technique if you're brand new to stamping, and you don't have a die cut machine, you don't have a lot of the bells and whistle tools yet. You can do sponging and you can do these masking techniques. I got a little crazy there. Let me put that back. And you're going to get a lot of depth without having to make a lot of layers, even if you don't have a lot of paper yet or cardstock colors. Okay, so I've got just a layer of fresh freesia. I'm going to bring in a brand new stamp set. This is in our celebration catalog that begins August 3rd. Hopefully, if you're one of my customers, you've received your catalog in the mail, but this is next week, guys. I can't believe it's August already. A little bit of denial happening over here in the pre-wedding mode, but yeah, celebration starts next week. And this is called Delicate Dahlias, and it is one of the stamp sets that you can earn free with a $100 order. So I thought we would do the masking technique with these two images because I want the leaves to look like they're tucked under, right? I want it to look like a whole piece. So we're going to use some fresh freesia and some evening evergreen. And let me get this little leaf here on a block. So let's start with the big dahlia. So I've got my paper masked to make this background, but I'm also going to use this masking piece with my flower. And I'm going to stamp one of the flowers right here. And so it's going to overlap this masking piece as well. And then, let's reposition that. I'm going to put that just a little bit in the corner as well, so we don't have a whole lot of room. So I've already created a masking piece with the dahlia. And let's see, if this one's a little tricky, you gotta just take a minute here and figure out where it lines up. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to cover up my flower because remember, I want my leaves to look like they're going to be tucked and coming out from underneath the flower. So whatever you want to be on the top, you stamp first and then you mask it. So I'm going to put a nice big leaf right here, and I'm going to stamp right on my paper so that I don't get this stem. I just want to have the leaves tucking out like that. And then we'll do one down here. This is Evening Evergreen. And then, let's see, I think I want just a little bit right here, sticking out. All right, so I'm gonna move my paper. See, you can already see how those look like they're tucked underneath there. And then I'm gonna reposition it over here for this guy. And we'll put a beautiful leaf right there. Okay. Super easy, right? Super easy. And now when you take that off, you've just got this gorgeous little easy to do panel that you can just plop right on a card base. So I thought this would be, this one comes with this great sympathy greeting, and I thought that would be appropriate. So going to stamp that right on the white. Like that. All right, so what do you guys think about this one? It's pretty easy, right? And then I'm just going to layer this onto some Evening Evergreen and then put it on the fresh freesia just to bring out both of those colors, and add some ribbon and just a little bit of rhinestones. And there you've got the finished card. So that is masking with some line art images, but instead of stamping in black, you're stamping in an ink pad color. You guys, I just made this one earlier today, and look what I did. I mounted it upside down. I just noticed that. Oh, that's fun. Aren't you glad it's Friday? I'm gonna flip that around later. Okay, so let's step this up just a little bit. And we're gonna do some collage stamping. With masking. All right, so the colors I'm using here are Crumb Cake, Soft Suede, and Rich Razzleberry. Thank you, Lynn. Okay, so for the base of my card, let me flip this over here. I'm going to use a piece of designer series paper. And this wood grain paper is actually from this pack called In Good Taste, that has all these different like textile images that were photographed and changed into designer series paper. And just as a reminder, if you're watching this before August 2nd, 2021, these 9 designer series papers are on sale, 15% off. And so if you haven't gotten any papers yet, definitely check out that sale. I do have a hostess code this month, so for until August 2nd, that's when I'll close that out. If you place an order of $60 or more, you can choose free either these pastel chalks, which we used in another video a couple weeks ago, or you can get a set of Stampin' Blends. They're both valued at $9, so that is my incentive for this month of July. Again, that hostess code I'll post below. It's good until August 2nd, 2021. If you place an order of $45 at the $45 level, you can get glue dots or the multi-purpose glue. You can pick an adhesive. So that is my ordering incentive. Okay. So let's start on this piece of paper, and we're going to do a collage. And we're going to bring in the Quiet Meadow stamp set because I think that is just gorgeous. And I just got it a couple weeks ago, so I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's got a lot of really pretty images in it, and then it's got these great little backgrounds. So let me get these out. Like that. I think that's all I need. Okay. So I'm going to do masking in a little slightly different way on this card. Let me bring that down. I'm going to take this flower image and I want to make it the kind of the focal point of my card. So I'm going to stamp that first, and I'm going to mask all of the collaging behind it. So I've already cut out my post-it note for this, and I just have to figure out where that goes. So I'm going to cover up that flower, and so that flower is going to stay the color of this background. I'm going to make everything else nice and dark. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take the rich razzleberry, and I'm going to stamp this beautiful flower image, and I'm going to just stamp it all over the background. So I'm going to go right over my paper there, and then I'm going to turn this. We're going to go that way. So I'm going to try to not overlap my flowers, but yet stamp them in a bunch of different directions. Let's go this way. Just to kind of make a collage background. Like that. Okay. And then I'm going to take this great little background that has the just like a scripty words, but they're like, how would you describe that? That you can't see, you know, they're aged, so all the words don't, you know, you don't see every single letter. It automatically looks kind of vintage like. And I'm going to take that in crumb cake, and I'm just going to stamp that in the background, and I'm going to stamp it twice each time just to get a little variation of color. Some of them will go right off the page like that. So I've just added a layer of script behind there. And then I'm going to take this splatter stamp and with the soft suede, and I'm just going to make some splatters and make sure I go right over that flower like that. Just add a few little splatters like that. So fun. There's two tiny little flowers that come in this Quiet Meadow stamp set, and I just mounted them together on the same block. I'm going to stamp them together, and now we can add this. So one of the things when you're creating a background or collaging, you always want to start with your image that's the largest, which was the flower, because you got to space those out first, and then you can work down to the other images because you can fill in with those. So I wouldn't have started with these flowers because then that would kind of dictate where I could put my flowers, the bigger flower, the little bouquet of flowers. So that's just a little tip when you're collaging. All right, so we just kind of filled in with that. Isn't that fun? Now I'll just give you a sneak peek because you'll want to just kind of see how that's popping out there. All right, but we're going to make it even better by just doing a little bit of adding some color to the background with sponging. So I'm going to take a finger dauber with the rich razzleberry, and I'm just going to really lightly go over all the little flowers just to give them a little pop. See how they're popping off the page? So this is just tone on tone. I've got the rich razzleberry ink there, already stamped with the, what am I trying to say? I stamped this in rich razzleberry and I'm sponging in rich razzleberry. Now I'm going to take my blending brush again, and I'm going to go back with the crumb cake, and I'm just going to age this wood grain paper. So I'm going to first go around this flower because I really want that flower to pop out. So we're going to get all the way around the edges like that, of that flower. And then we're just kind of going to give it a vignette look by going around the outside edges too and making those darker. And that'll leave some of these little places inside that are a little bit lighter. It just makes a really interesting background. This is also therapeutic. I just realized I'm doing all therapy cards today. Here we go. See how beautiful that is? Love it. You can make this as dark as you want. All right, so now we'll just pull that off and do a little big reveal. And boom, look how that pops off the page. So now you've got that. That image is just really spotlighted. It's not technically the spotlighting technique. That is a whole nother technique, but it is a way to spotlight just one image. So to finish off this card, let me bring in the finished card. I added Wink of Stella. Let's see if I can get that to show up on the camera. So just to make that a little shiny, I'm just leaving it white and bright, but now it's a little bit shiny. And then I added that gingham ribbon again, and just a little greeting right there, so it kind of ties those two pieces together. I mounted it on rich razzleberry and then crumb cake. So that is a masking technique that kind of creates a little spotlight because you leave that image white. All right, what do you think about that? Have you guys done some collaging? Okay, I have one more card to show, to demonstrate for you. Let me just move these items. I did want to give you one tip here. Let's do this. Because I'm going to show you in the next, well, I'm going to show you the next card. Let's do it, yeah, we'll do it that way. Okay, so we've been doing the, oops, I got to show you this one. I made this one for one of my new team members, Terry. She got this stamp set to the moon and was just kind of scratching the surface of it, trying to figure out, you know, what to do with it. And so I hadn't played with mine yet either. And so I got this out and I did the torn paper technique that you just saw with the sponging. And then I had stamped this first, masked it, and then I sponged and did all that stamping behind it, just like I did on the Dahlia card. And I'm pretty excited about this stamp set. I think it turned out really well. So that is for my friend Terry. Again, look at this stamp set. I haven't made a card with this yet, but this is one where definitely masking is going to come into play, right? If you want to put birds or those eggs in the nest, you're going to want to create that depth. So you're going to have to stamp and mask first the nest, and then you can tuck those little birds into the nest. And that's especially if you didn't want to cut it out. Like this does come with dies, right? So you can cut out the nest and you can layer the birds and you can do all of that. But let's just say you want to play stamps, ink, and paper. That's all you have. This allows you to do it by this technique. Okay, here's my last card. We're going to do actually what is called reverse masking. And so let me show you what that means. So what I've done is I took this butterfly and I cut it out of a piece of basic white paper. That's the same size as what I want to have my image be on my card. Okay, so they're the same size. That just makes it a little bit easier. And then we're going to use this piece. So I took the butterfly and I saved that for a later project. We're going to use this piece as our mask, but instead of covering up, we're going to reverse the technique and we're going to fill in. So it's maybe just a little bit more like a stenciling technique ultimately, but you can kind of technically call this like reverse masking. So let me just tack that down a little bit with some washi tape. And we're going to use Balmy Blue and Mango Melody and Calypso Coral. So I'm ultimately going to stamp through my mask onto this butterfly, but we're going to give it some color with the blending brushes. So I've got blue and coral and mango. So let me start with the coral. So I'm going to layer my colors kind of a little bit like a sky in this butterfly. So I'm going to start with the coral down here where the sky would be the most orangey. And once I get that going, I'm just going to kind of create orange down there like that. Whoops, I think I used the mango one. Oh, Robin. Okay, there we go. Let's just orangey that up. All right, now we're going to add the mango, and we'll just do a little bit right on top of the coral and bring it up a little bit with the mango. And then we'll bring in the Balmy Blue, and we'll do the top in blue. And of course, where that blue and yellow meet, you're going to get just a tiny hint of green, which is so amazing. Like that. All right, pretty cool, right? So those are our colors. So now I'm going to bring back our Quiet Meadow stamp set, and I'm going to do a little stamping onto the butterfly, but through my masking paper. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to use black. Okay, I've cleaned off my stamp here. And we're going to take our tuxedo black, and I'm going to stamp these flowers just right here through the masking paper. And then I'm going to take the words, this cute little background, and stamp those in blue right along the top where I inked that background in blue. And then I'm going to take the splatter with my coral and just stamp that right along where I had inked the background in coral. And are you ready for the big reveal here? Let's see what this looks like. Ta-da! So this is reverse masking because we're using the negative, you know, the negative image there to go ahead and make that piece. Hello, how are you? All right, let's put this together in a card. So we've got coral and we've got Balmy Blue. Ureta, I was thinking of you when I put together this video because I was thinking as a newer stamper, you might enjoy learning about masking. So I hope you get to watch this whole video. All right, before I put that all together, so I just have a piece of this Balmy Blue Designer Series paper that I'm going to put down here, which I need to trim just a little bit. That. Before I do this, I'm going to wrap some ribbon around here, and I wanted to bring in this crinkled seam binding because this is also a great ribbon choice. Let's say you are just getting started and you want to, you know, have some ribbon, but you can't afford to get all of the ribbon colors, right? Nobody can do that in the beginning. This seam binding ribbon is really nice to use because it's easy to tie because it's so thin and it's white. So not only will it go with every project because it's white, but you can also color it. So I wanted to show you how to do that. I was watching Linda Heller, she's another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and she reminded me of a really easy way to measure your ribbon. So let's say we want ribbon wrapped around this way, okay? A great way to measure is to just wrap your ribbon around, okay? If you want to tie a knot, you wrap it, you know, 3 times. So here's 1, 2, 3. So that would be if you want to tie and just like have a knot. If you want it to be a bow, then you do a 4th. And then you've got just kind of the perfect amount of ribbon for tying a bow. So I love that technique. Obviously, if you were going to wrap something around the long way, then you would just measure it this way. So you'd go 1, 2, 3 for a knot, and then you would do 1 more if you wanted it to be a bow. So let's color this ribbon because I want this ribbon to be coral. So I'm going to bring in my coral ink pad, and there's lots of ways you can do this. You can take your blending brush and you can add ink that way. If you've got alcohol blends, the Stampin' Blends, you can take that and you can rub that on your ribbon that way. You can also just take a stamp set. So I'm going to bring in this little polka dot stamp set, and I'm just going to add this little splatter to the ribbon. You can also just drag it, but because the ribbon's so thin, it's going to dry pretty quickly. So let me just make sure I've got it. I don't have to color the whole thing because not everything's going to show, right? So let me just make sure. What I need to color here. Okay, I need to do a little bit more. So let's bring back that Stampin' Blend because that was a really easy way, and it dries. It's an alcohol marker, so it's going to dry really fast. You can just color that. And let's do the other end. And then we'll add a little bit of a splatter to it. Okay, cool, right? Make your own ribbon. Now we'll wrap this around and tie our bow. So this reverse masking technique is really nice to use if you do have dies or punches. You can obviously punch out any shape or cut out any shape, and then you've instantly got a nice little mask that you can use in a reverse kind of way. Look at that. It's just the perfect amount. Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to trim that end there. I'm just going to slide it. I already put my adhesive on the back and it's sticky. I'm just going to slide it so it's right at the border between my designer series paper and the white, and then we'll put it on our card front. And we'll add a greeting. There's a thinking of you. And we'll just put that right on our designer series paper. And then let's add a little bit of embellishment to sparkle it up. Remember, if you've got the blends, you can also make your rhinestones and your pearls any color you want. So let's add some pearls. So I've got 2 there. If I'm going to make a triangle, I either have to put it over here somewhere or I have to put it over here. So I'm going to put it right on the edge of that butterfly there, like that. All right, and that is reverse masking. Isn't that fun? I did, when I was practicing this technique yesterday, I did one with that larger flower that I used, and I thought that was cute too, but I ended up liking the smaller flowers. And so here, instead of using the blend, I just used my splatter. And then I wanted to show you how you could use any, so I just pulled randomly this die because I thought it made a nice little frame. And I did that same technique of reverse masking, so that you could just see a little bit more of the image on there. And then I just took the piece that I had, you know, used as my mask and created another card with it. So nothing goes to waste there. All right, let's bring back all of our ideas for today. And then you are going to have to think about what kind of, what do you have in your stash of stamp sets that you can do this technique for or with, because I think even if you haven't ever done it, or you've done it but it has been a while, you're going to have so much fun bringing it back out. Okay, let's see. This one, I'm missing one. Where's my collage card? There we go. I literally throw everything on the floor after I'm done with it to make room. Okay, there's our card. So we've got just our basic solid image technique. We've got our torn paper with line art images in ink color. We've got line art images that are colored in, that are masked. And then we've got our collage technique where we're spotlighting using masking. And then we've got our reverse masking technique. And I could just keep going and going and going because this is such a fun technique. So I hope that you give this a try. I really appreciate you watching. I love all your comments. Thank you so very much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.